All right, people, what is going on? You know that sound. It is the Unfiltered Band. Another episode of Unfiltered. This one very impromptu, coming your way live. It'll be short but not very sweet here as we are live on Twitter, YouTube, and everywhere across social media. Of course, if you're getting it belated, it is because you're getting it via the usual episodic pleasure that you get on Apple, Spotify, everywhere else you get your podcasts. You can join along that way as well here on Unfiltered and the Unfiltered Revolution as we go live. Thank you, Unfiltered Band. On a Wednesday night, just before 11 o'clock Eastern time. As of right now, there's no official news because it's too early. We don't know the ramifications or exactly how bad the injury is to Edwin Diaz. But I feel ill. I felt ill watching that, not just because I'm a fan of the Mets, not just because I'm a fan of baseball, or even just because I'm a fan of sports. Because nobody's a fan of that. What an incredible event and what an evening it was, and such a special scene in Miami, way before the trumpets played. Everything about that event, everything about what is on display, the passion that these countries and these teams and these players and these athletes and the fans all have, the passion that baseball still brings. And just how unbelievable of an evening it was lining up to be. All of that on center stage in full display in Miami. Dominican Republic, a favorite to many, certainly an all-star team. My gosh. Getting knocked off and upset. The trumpets come out. Edwin Diaz, 1, 2, 3 innings, strikes out the side. 3 big leaguers. And then we're flipping over, and I got 2 TVs on. Actually, one of them, I was watching this on my phone. The television sitting there watching the U.S. game get underway. And baseball on center stage. And even if people want to slam it, and even if I want to tell you the game's on too late, and all the things that we could sit there and complain about, it's real passionate baseball in March. And then that happens. And immediately I just felt ill. And a tweet wasn't going to be enough. Let me get this, and I hate to say get this out of the way, because we thank our sponsors, and we are presented, as always, by our good friends at BetOnline, the remain your number one source for all your college basketball betting this season. Analysis of every play, prop, and point at BetOnline. You'll get the latest odds, bracket, contest, team matchups, and game trends over at BetOnline. Updated odds for everything from live games, conference championships, right on through the Final Four in the championship game as well. BetOnline, your college basketball headquarters this season. Head over to the website today or use your mobile device to sign up and to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Sure to use the promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV. Receive your bonus. It's betonline.ag. That's betonline.ag, where the game starts. You want to jump in the chat? You can. I see you. We'll get it here live. As first person gets up in the chat and says, this is a nightmare for us, Casey. It's a nightmare indeed. I wanted to come on not because, obviously we are all hoping for Edwin Diaz to be okay. Whether you're a Met fan or not, if you're not hoping that Edwin Diaz is okay, you're an ass. If you're making LOL Met jokes because of what just happened to Edwin Diaz, you're a moron. It's because it needs to be said before the official nature of what I think we all understand went on. And I'm no doctor. And they tell you when you do this, that I've been on TV and radio for injuries, and when you're doing broadcasts, and they make sure that you understand that we're not doctors, and to sit there and to go and to get into the happenstance and the prognosticating of what we think the diagnosis is going to be, like we're on House, and we're just not. But I think it would be fair to say if I polled 100 people, as they do in Family Feud, and surveyed 100 people, right now, without the news, as I do this live at 10:45 Eastern time, I bet you more than 50% of you are going to be surprised if he plays this season. And I would be in that 50% after what I just watched. I would be in that 50% after what I just watched. I'd be surprised if he played again this season. Who knows? Hopefully it isn't a big deal. But it needed to be said before the bad news comes out. This is not about the World Baseball Classic. First of all, guys can get injured in spring training all the time. Now you're going to tell me, well, they don't celebrate in spring training. But now you're going to come on and tell me what celebrating is where you normally get injured? Because in spring training, these guys would be getting at bats. They'd be running to first base. They would be diving into holes trying to win jobs. A lot of them, if they're all-stars, already have jobs. They still would find themselves in the outfield, at shortstop, at the plate, pulling, straining obliques, straining hamstrings. The Freddie Freeman injury, we saw the normal type injuries that you get like he got for Team Canada 2 days ago. And all those things would happen. This is a freak thing. This isn't about the World Baseball Classic. Now, people, because they want to sit there and get on it, look, I've gotten on it. It should be a bigger deal because it is really cool and because the league doesn't do a good enough job to market it. But people are going to sit there and act like that this is about the World Baseball Classic. And thank you, Tyler. Appreciate the class and good comment coming in from a Phillies fan. As Tyler gets in and says, there it is. Philly fan here, hate this for the Mets and for the sport. This is not about the World Baseball Classic. This is a freak accident. I was at a game where this happened on Monday Night Football against the Giants. To the kicker, was it Martin? I know there were two Grammaticas, so I don't remember which one, but I think it was Martin. I think he was out for a year. We saw the Kendrys Morales incident, which happened during a celebration, and those are just a couple that come off the top of my head. This is a freak injury. This is a freak accident. This is a terrible thing. It's horrible. It's horrific for the human being and for the young athlete who was giving it his all, pumping his fists and pump up, who had that moment representing his country. It's terrible for his family members as you watch his brother, and how do you not get teary-eyed as his brother's sitting there crying, watching him get injured? It's terrible, certainly, for the Mets. It's terrible for the league. It's terrible for the rest of Team Puerto Rico. It's terrible for everyone, mainly, of course, Edwin Diaz. But this is not about the WBC. And I don't know what's tongue-in-cheek and what's not, but even in the, 17 minutes since this has happened, as I do this live, I'm seeing a bunch of asinine morons sit there and tweet about how this is proof the Classic shouldn't be played, and what a joke, and Major League Baseball is a travesty, and yada, yada, yada. I am a Met fan. I am a diehard Met fan, despite being somebody who's worked in this industry almost 20 years, spent plenty of days unbiased. I was in there doing the champagne celebration after the Cardinals beat the Mets with the strength to be here in Andy Chavez, and did my job. We do our jobs. A lot of us are fans, but I bleed these colors. This is my team. And I'm telling you that this is not about the World Baseball Classic. This is a freak injury. It's terrible. It's horrific. It has nothing to do with the WBC. Nothing. Nothing. Because the idea that we're going to go from, you can't have guys playing in the WBC because they get injured, because as I pointed out a couple of weeks ago, and it's right, they're giving max effort where a lot of these all-stars who would not be fighting for jobs in camp would not be giving max effort on a lot of these plays, would not have. Now, Francisco Lindor, let's go earlier in the game. If Frankie Lindor, when he was running around the bases on that inside the Parker with defensive help, right? When he was running around the bases, if he had slipped around the third base bag and gotten hurt and then was out for the year with an Achilles injury or a torn ACL or whatever, right? And you wanted to say, well, screw the WBC, which, by the way, still wouldn't be fair to anoint that on top of the entire thing. But regardless, you wanted to, as a Met fan, a Lindor fan, a hater of the WBC, a fan of baseball, whatever. If you wanted to then say, you can't do it because we can't in spring training when guys are ramping up have issues like this where Lindor is giving max effort like it's Game 7 of the World Series because he's getting paid to give max effort like it's Game 7 of a World Series by the team that's paying him to get that team to win a playoff game or two or a series, let alone get to or win a World Series. But not jumping up and down on a mound in a celebration. No, I don't want to hear it. We're going to hear it, but you should all shut up. Because you could like or not like the World Baseball Classic, but this is not the injury you were afraid of. This is a terrible, terrible thing. Makes you feel literally ill. Ill. You feel absolutely just brutal. It's terrible. This one comes in from, I didn't even get my glass of water. I just wanted to kind of come out and just, spew at least the feelings. This one comes in Chavez-wise. He says, correct, Casey. My kids love the WBC. He says, most excited that they've been about baseball since the World Series. This can happen at any time. Look, this is not the kind of an injury you were afraid of at the World Baseball Classic. If you're a fan of teams, this is just not the kind of injury you were afraid of. Jim Cunningham gets in as a Phillies fan. He says, I can't stand the Mets at all. Most disliked team in the league. But I love baseball, good players, good competition. This sucks. Appreciate you, Jim. I mean, how do you not feel? You're watching his brother cry. You're watching the teammates cry. You're watching, they say the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. You're not supposed to have the agony of defeat on the same side of the team that just had the thrill of victory in mere seconds. It'll be something if it's as bad as it looks. And I keep refreshing because we are live, even though I know a lot of people will get this on the podcast, Apple, Spotify, everywhere you get them. By the way, also, if your first time to us, you could jump in and subscribe to my YouTube channel and like and watch all the interviews and conversations and the videos. You can get that up in the Twitter handle at Casey Stern as well. They're going to be people who are going to sit there if he's out for the year. And look, it looked that bad. Again, that's how bad it looked, right? But this is a weird freak accident. This is not about the World Baseball Classic. There is no breakdown of this. People always need to be looking for some kind of answer or something they could crap on or some reason or some dude or something that they could get on and say, hey, it's your fault. This is no one's fault. This is no one's fault. And it sucks. Yeah, how important is Edwin Diaz to the Mets? You could argue he is the most irreplaceable player on the whole team. Now, I understand people are going to give you he plays one inning a game, and he only pitches 3 outs and sometimes maybe 4, and people are going to give you all that, right? And you got to get starters. And look, Scherzer didn't do this down the end, and who knows if Verlander's age, and now Quintana's injury, and this, that, whatever. They didn't get the offense they need last year. They're going to give you all that, but at the end of the day, on the baseball side, which is hard to get to, but as you fear that side, yeah. He arguably the most irreplaceable player on the team. That guy walked in against that lineup, Dominican Republic, as heavily favored as they were, and give credit to Puerto Rico and to, really, the entire team, right? It's not about Edwin Diaz, but he walked in there with the trumpets, 1, 2, 3, good night. That's what the Mets had. That's why they signed him to that 5-year deal. But tonight is a night to feel for Edwin. Tonight is a night to feel for his family, for his teammates in Puerto Rico. And for that kid who just did that for his country and then had to go through those moments where he knows better than any of us do, knowing his own body, that he could be sitting in those moments as he's getting in a wheelchair to go down a ramp, knowing that the next time he sees a field could be in what? Over a calendar year? Heaven forbid. Let's hope that's not the case. But prayers to Edwin Diaz, and it sucks. It sucks. But it is not the fault of the World Baseball Classic. Not much more to say other than to pray for this one. Prayers out to Sugar. Catch you next time on hopefully a more uplifting edition of Unfiltered. You can catch us anytime, Apple, Spotify, everywhere you get your podcasts. We, as always, presented by our good friends at BetOnline.